Okay, Google, change light to green. There we go. I feel like it should be green for this one. His Merry Little Batman, it's green. I don't know. I don't know what that was, but I said it. Merry Little Batman is a lovely little movie, I gotta say. I had a lot of fun with it. I think it's a fun movie for people who kind of love the core of, especially who Bruce Wayne is and who Batman is really as well, and just would like to see a world where he kind of gets a happy ending. That's what this movie really is for me, which honestly, that's this person. I love that. We don't normally get to see stories where Batman gets a happy ending, so this was really lovely for me, in my opinion. But I understand that that might not be everyone, and I don't think everyone's gonna like this movie, and in fact, I think there will be a lot of people that don't like this movie, and especially people that this movie isn't for that won't like it, and then we'll say, I think everything Batman should be dark and gloomy. He's the Dark Knight. But, you know, not everything has to be that, friends. It's definitely a great holiday family movie, so if you're looking for something to watch with your family, and if you're a DC fan, this is probably it for you. I think you'll really enjoy it, and I think kids will enjoy it. It is definitely a kids movie, which also might be a big part of the reason why I love it, because I do love just usually things that are marketed for kids I enjoy. I guess because I'm a big kid. So let's talk about the pros here. So the pros of the movie, some of my favorite things, and then after we'll talk about some of the things I didn't like, because there were some things that even I was like, nah, I don't know, it's not really for me, but I see what you're doing. And then after I'll give you guys my sort of breakdown, my rating, and why I gave it that rating out of 10. Out of 10 batarangs, how many does it get? Out of 10 utility belts. 10 pouches on a utility belt, maybe. Alright, so for the pros of the movie, one, like I said, Batman kind of gets to be happy in this movie, and that's really nice. Also just seeing Batman, like, actually get to be a dad in a very, like, dad way. Like, not in, you know, Batman being a dad in the comics where he's like very still cold and removed, but sometimes he lets people in. Like, just really let him get to be a dad. That to me was delightful. I like that Damian as well. I think this is actually my favorite version of Damian. I like that he gets to just be kind of like a menace instead of like a murderous jerk to his dad and around his dad and around the Bat family. He's just kind of like this troublesome like kid. Like, he's just trouble, but he means well. And he's kind of trying to fit in, and his dad realizes that, like, you know, my son is just very different because he's my son. There's just a lot more acceptance that I feel like happens between these two. And at the end of the day, Damian really has some weird approaches to stuff, but he really just does want the respect of his dad, and it's something that's very relatable. I think we've all felt, you know, we just want our parents to love us and accept us, and it's very cute. It's got a lot of heart, this movie. I like the premise in general as well of Batman, like, you know, the kind of origin for this story, the setup where Batman basically found out he was going to be a dad, and before his son was born, decided he was going to, like, clean up Gotham completely, eliminate crime, because he's going to be a dad. So when he discovered, you know, that Damian was on his way, that's how that worked. It also kind of gives us a little bit of a happier family story, I think, for Damian's origin, which honestly, in the comics, it's weird. And depending on the version you're reading, very problematic, I think I can say at times. I think I can say that. I think we all agree. So I liked this approach to that. However, there are some things still that we have to talk about, but we'll get to that in a minute. I do also really love these villains that were basically forced into retirement, which I can imagine for Batman means they were basically defeated to the point that they could not probably move very well, forced into retirement. How they kind of come back when they're these older villains, and seeing them as like these older characters, and what are the differences and what are the similarities, and just the design of some of these characters is really fun. I really love Penguin a lot. I really love the Joker. A lot of the voice acting in the film as well is really good. And for me, a standout was the Joker, who is voiced by David Hornsby. So props to him, who is from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Did some of the writing for that, and I think is also a recurring character. I haven't seen It's Always Sunny, but I've only heard like good things about that show. Joker's plan is also kind of a genius plan in this, which I really loved, which is the idea that he realizes, okay, so like this is probably Batman's son and he wants this utility belt and I can see how destructive he is, and that gives me an idea. Why don't I take Batman's son and basically turn him into the villain of the story as opposed to me doing all the work myself? Like, use that and make him become the bad guy. And that's like the worst thing you could do to Damian, to Batman. I mean, it's just so dastardly. And I love the Joker also does it from a place of being like, no, see, like I see potential in you. Like, he's not even really doing it to be the most evil. It's just the twisted way his mind is. But it is the most evil inherently. However, his snow globe, while super cool, was less of a good plan, I gotta say. But I did love the design of that and just how ridiculous it is. Honestly, a lot of this movie reminds me a little bit of like the Powerpuff Girls cartoon in the best way. There's just some stuff that's so ridiculous, but at the same time, it feels like grounded in a sense of seriousness. It's like so absurd, but realistic at the same time, if that makes sense. And I like that. I like how out there some of the stuff is. I really love the whole sequence with Damian, where he's just taking down the goons near the beginning as well. And then also kind of accidentally like burns a whole part of like Wayne Manor and like trashes it. It felt very Home Alone, and it was just super fun and super cute to watch. And I love how terrifying Damian can be, which is true. Damian is a terrifying character, and they kept that without like taking it to like the 11th degree. So he's still terrifying, just in a way that, like Batman, he'll basically mess you up, and he's scary. He's scary with how committed he is. He really wants that utility belt. He really wants to prove he can be responsible to his dad, so he can go on patrol with him and you know, start actually training properly to become Batman. Overall, the characterization of Damian here I just really loved. Damian for me is usually a very annoying character, which is also why I love the Harley Quinn animated series version of him, because he's just like such a like you're like, oh my gosh, this guy, he's the worst. But I loved this endearing version of him, and I think it fits the character still really well, but it makes him not grating to me. I think there's two ways you can do that character. You either commit to him being grating, or you have him be endearing. And the comic book version, we've kind of seen the movement from him be starting out as this annoying character to becoming a character that actually has some interesting stuff going for him. And you realize, you know, Damian actually isn't so bad. He's just kind of been misguided a lot of his life. And it's really about him learning to connect with his dad. And this also is that. Kind of understanding why his dad is the way he is. Also, speaking of that, I love just like the Batman AI. There's so many things in this that I love, like just how Batman as a dad is so paranoid, and it just fits so perfectly because Batman is a very paranoid character who is very much into like planning everything. Like he just has a plan for every single scenario that could possibly happen. And this is exactly what he's like as a dad with Damian, and I just think it fits the character so well. It's also reflected in the fact that when Damian takes the suit that was intended for him and breaks into the Batcave, it comes to the Batman AI, who is basically supposed to be like a replacement Bruce if Bruce is gone, and is just constantly trying to tell like Damian what to do and guide him and assist him. And also the fact that the Batman AI and Damian have this like heartfelt moment in the zoo that like made me cry. Honestly, rest in peace, Batman AI. I hope Bruce can fix you, because you were great and you deserve to have life. Gave his life to protect Damian. Robots. So some of the cons of this movie. So I don't like that Talia is referred to, but we never really get to find out what happened with her. She's just kind of written out of the story, and we know that she's Damian's mom, and we know that she's a villain, but where is she and what happened to her? And we don't acknowledge that like maybe she left Damian with Bruce and just like dipped, or I mean, Bruce basically says that he did love Talia, or he loves her, so where is she? What's happening? Just feels kind of lazy. I would like to see more of that. More of the Bat family in general, I would say. A lot of them are missing, and the only real one that I saw was like, it's a reference to Nightwing. He's alluded to through an emergency contact list that Bruce has for Damian. So there's just a lot of I love the Bat family, so I'd love to see more of them featured. Also, Alfred is kind of bumbling in this, speaking of the Bat family. He is not as, like, cool as he is in the comics. Which does fit the tone, but I don't know. I just don't like seeing Alfred when he's more capable. And he's not as capable as he could be. He basically turns his back and then Damien gets kidnapped. Like, that's not the Alfred I know. Also, Santa needs to bring that man a spine for Christmas because he is hunchbacked. Wow. He's like this the whole time. Goodness. I don't like either how Batman is easily tricked at the beginning. Like, I was willing to write it off because it's a kid's movie and I like the premise of, you know, Damien being alone for Christmas and trying to prove to his dad that he's worthy after losing his utility belt, which his dad just gifted to him. But at the same time, the convenient, you know, excuse of like, oh, Batman's like been called away, and even though none of the other Justice League are available, which is super suspicious, and I felt like it was weird at the beginning, and then it turns out because it's a trap, you would think Batman would know to not walk into a trap. He is the world's greatest detective. I know he might be a little rusty, but I doubt he's that rusty. But you know, we'll write it off. It's a kid's movie. Also, poor Selina. Catwoman is not in this at all, nor is she really referenced. The only reference we get is that they have a family cat at Wayne Manor, which is named Selina. I know Selina is out there somewhere in another universe, like watching this movie, and she's like, what the heck did they do? But overall, I gotta say, I give this movie 8 out of 10 utility belt pouches. It has great animation. It's a cute movie with a lot of heart that I think ultimately does justice to the core of who a lot of these characters are, and especially when we imagine them in sort of this kind of world. So that's my overall thoughts on it. I did really enjoy it. I hope if you watch it that you also enjoy it. And if you are one of the people that, you know, it wasn't your cup of tea, or if you are one of the people that did like elements of it, but maybe you didn't like other elements, let me know down in the comments what you loved, what you didn't love about this movie, and sort of where you stand on it, and how you feel in general about sort of like DC properties, whether that's YA books or animated films that are made specifically for kids, which I also acknowledge not all animated films from DC are, but I think this is. Let me know. All right, until next time, friends, stay nerdy. Bye!